We're live on the red carpet.
Wow, is this ever exciting? Hi, everybody. It's been a long time. A week, when we started this, we were doing it twice a week, right?
Oh, for a long time. Yeah, Mondays and Fridays.
And then I just got burned out. I guess that's what it was. Because 2 days a week, for a show with intensity and with heart and the unfilteredness of all the comments and not worrying about any retribution from the CRTC, your boss, Rogers, Bell, or any of those people. There's I put a lot of pressure on myself.
No, it's a lot. No, twice a week was heavy duty, and then now we have it down to a sweet science, as they say. Yeah. I'm going to tweet this YouTube link at you right now.
Thank you. And then I'll tweet it out, and it's all very exciting. So yeah, we got a really good show today, folks. We're going to start the podcast in a couple of minutes. I don't know about you, but I've had 4 or 5 screens going at a time. JAYS, Raptors, Leafs are on here. Masters over there. What else to go? Trade deadline. I think they should do a week's worth of trade deadline shows, because once the trade deadline day comes, there's all the trades have been made pretty much. I just think they should do a week of it. In fact, I think I heard somebody refer to on TSN that it's trade deadline week.
Right.
It used to be, it's your birthday. No, it's your birthday week. Because not everybody can see you on your birthday.
Right.
That's what it's like with the trade deadline. Trade deadline week. Because they always start well in advance. I don't know who the Leafs need. Maybe we'll talk about that on the show. And we're going to ask you right now for your comments, opinions, suggestions. Since we're live on YouTube, we can be interactive. We could, if we wanted to, I think, Mike, actually phone people or take phone calls. Do you have that capacity?
Yeah, we could totally take
multiple calls. Like we give them a toll-free number, or we give them your number.
We'd have to give them my number. This is the cable. I just connect my my phone to the board here via this cable here, and we could have a channel that's just my phone. Yeah, we could take calls, or we could. I mean, it's up to you, but we could.
But we could take calls,
people,
right?
Yeah, we
wouldn't.
Go ahead.
Have to censor them. Like you wouldn't need to be the producer saying, "What would you like to talk to Mark about today?" What is him? Right, that because on radio, the screener would pick up the phone. Look at me, would pick up the phone.
Yeah, screen it.
But you would just sort of put them on the air, and we would hope and think that anyone that watches this show is smart enough to realize that, the content that they deliver, if it's
we should do this. I like this idea, but
unacceptable. We blow them out.
I could easily.
We hang up on them. Did you see the clip last week where everybody was going crazy about this Cleveland talk show host that yelled at a guy, called him stupid?
Yeah, I saw Wilner tweeted it. Yeah,
we used to do that all the time.
I know. Yeah, you talked about that last week. But one thing
I'm thinking,
go ahead.
Do you think that the viewers, people want something like this? Is this something they crave? They're not getting it on their local radio stations if they're in fact listening. There isn't a podcast or a live feed where they can just haul off. What the fuck is goddamn Charlie Montoya doing? The runner at second base, extra innings, freaking Danny Jansen. Let him try to bunt at least. What the hell is going on here? Could have won that game 5 times last night.
Here's a better idea. Like instead of the phone-in thing, because I don't know if I want to give these bozos my phone number. A better idea, I think, is that you basically go to your YouTube, your live YouTube, and you say, okay, here's the Zoom link. And I would basically one by one bring people from the Zoom waiting room into the Zoom room where we could do that. But do you want? But we should do a special open Hebsy episode, don't you? Don't you think?
Open mic Fridays, right?
Well,
we combine it with pandemic Fridays that you do with Stu and with Cam,
right.
And then we have a Toronto mic listener party number 9 or whatever. Combine it with Hebsy. There you go.
We did baseball jams last night, and this 45 single of Talkin' Baseball, which is the Cashman Blue Jays version. You know the song. But Ken Daniels sent me this from his personal collection because he was getting rid of stuff and he thought I'd dig it. So he was right.
Kenny knows.
Kenny knows. Good boy. Okay.
What's the best baseball song of all time? A song. Okay, now, when I say that, I'm not talking about Take Me Out to the Ball Game or Willie, Mickey, and the Duke or whatever. I mean a song that they would play at a ball game, or a song that is associated with a baseball movie, let's say, right? That we go, that just fits.
Well, the big one is Center Field by Fogerty. That's the big one. John
Fogerty.
That's so
popular.
I know, it's cheesy.
Mine is I Got Loaded by Los Lobos. That's the song they play when in Bull Durham, they want to get a rain out and they turn on all the taps and the sprinklers
Right.
in the ballpark at night. They break in.
Right.
And then they go running the bases, sliding in the mud and all that type of thing, slipping and sliding. And the song they play during that is I Got Loaded. And it's great because they're just running around like a bunch of kids, sliding in the muck and turning the water on so they can get a rain out because they've been slumping, right? You know what we need? A rain out. Everybody looks up at the sky and says, a rain out? What are you kidding me?
Right.
I can get us a
remember
rain
this.
out.
Yeah. And you love your Los Lobos. We're literally about to play some Los Lobos. Do the Murray.
And they're doing a virtual concert with the Tedeschi Trucks Band. So I'm really looking forward to that. In fact, that's going to be at Art Park in Lewiston, New York in July. So maybe by then, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Especially since, well, I saw some news from you on social. But one thing about Los Lobos, my favorite fact about them is that they have a #1 song and they don't have any other song in the top 40.
That's right. And they're the only, and their #1 song is the only song that's not theirs. They didn't write it.
They, of course,
it's a cover.
Yeah. It's a cover. That's for sure.
And it's, I believe, the only #1 song that's sung entirely in Spanish that was #1 in the United States.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Despacito ruined that fun fact. I don't know. I have to check. Maybe because Despacito
I'm not
went to
positive of that.
But
Or they held it for a while there anyway.
Yeah,
ready to start the show?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Here we go.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Live from Toronto, it's Hebsy on Sports, episode number 227. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Mark Hebscher, in the Little Italy studios in Toronto. Mike back home at the mothership, anxiously putting together the backyard studio during this provincial lockdown. Hopefully it doesn't affect your building of the studio. Lockdown.
I think the media is exempted from that.
All right, lots of sports to talk about. Let's get to it. What do you think about your Dunedin Buffalo Blue Jays, who dropped a very winnable game last night in their home opener in Florida? Weirdest home opener ever. Weirder than the first home opener where it snowed. And that was pretty weird. I'll talk about that. What about the Toronto Raptors, the new team, basketball team that loses and loses and now is in a position where they could possibly get into the playoffs if they tried their best and put their best team out there, but they're more likely to finish down at the bottom of the standings so they can get a good draft pick for the future. What a conundrum / dilemma. And the Maple Leafs, speaking of conundrums, what do they do with their goaltending? I mean, got this guy, Jack Campbell's won 10 in a row. Freddie Andersen apparently is ready to play again. Talk about that. A brief Masters update because they're playing as I'm speaking, and who knows? I mean, by the time this intro is over with, somebody could have dropped 4 shots. Somebody could have made an eagle. I won't even get into that, but I'll tell you that I'm in a Masters pool with a bunch of celebs.
Wow. That's
put together by Perry Lefko.
Oh, I know Perry. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Perry's guy. I think he's got something going on the side here or whatever because I'm off to a shaky start, and there's a lot of money involved here. Big time celebs like Joe Tilley.
Wow.
Jim Taddy.
Wow.
Others I can't. Mark Osborne.
Can't wow, Ozzy.
Can't name any more. Big stars.
Those are big names.
Big names. I'll be doing some sports media critiquing if that's okay with you. I mean, I know I'm really not qualified to critique the sports media. I'm only a viewer, used to be in the business. What do I know? So if you want to turn me off, then that's fine. But
it's my favorite part of the show,
Hebsy. Of sports media.
My favorite part of the show.
You know where to go. And by the way, I'll explain to you how to pronounce the names of sports people that announcers should already know how to pronounce, and just a little tip as to how to do it and make sure that you don't mispronounce someone's name when you're on the air on a major network that goes across the country. It's a little tip between you and me. Okay? And I'll tell you the story of how I single-handedly got beer sold at Blue Jay games when for 5.5 years they didn't sell beer.
Wow.
That's all coming up. But first, Mike, let's invite the listeners to the show by saying that the request lines are now open. We don't have the phone lines open yet, but if you've got a comment, post it on the YouTube feed, and we'll see if we can answer it, like live on the show.
Yeah, on that note, Hebsy, I'm wondering if you could take a moment to retweet the actual YouTube link to your followers, because I
If
don't
you can
believe
tell
you.
us about the update on the construction of the Toronto Mike
Yes.
outdoor backyard studio.
Okay, so after 3 long months, cold months, I'll say, where everything was done via Zoom, we had our first in-person guest. So Mark Weisblot from 1236 was in my backyard. Now, I will point
One
out
of the all-time greats.
absolutely, and loves Hebsy on sports, and he does not like sports. I hear this from lots of people. They don't care about sports, but they love Hebsy on sports. So what Weisblot, I should point out, this is outdoors and 15, well, I didn't measure, but it was over 10 feet apart. I spaced us out outdoors,
Right.
and we didn't even face each other, to be honest. But Cam Woolley, who people know from, I think, CP24, and maybe he was on Breakfast Television before that, and he was...
Oh, before that, he was the OPP spokesman. He was
Right.
the best.
So Cam Woolley is actually retiring next week. And on his way out the door, he's going to do his exit interview in my backyard. So Monday morning, Cam Woolley, we should be
Nice.
live. That'll be cool.
Wait, so live in your backyard Monday morning?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, about
So
10 o'clock.
Are you selling tickets to that? Is that part of a listener thing? That would be great.
On the download.
I would dig that.
In non-pandemic times, I would totally sell tickets to that.
In non-pandemic times. Somebody's got to write a song about that. All right, let's get to it. Mike, the Jays
Yes.
had their home opener in Dunedin at TD Park. Now, if I were to tell you 44 years ago in the snow of April 7th, 1977, the first Blue Jays game ever, which I attended, and I'm not lying about that, I did, even though millions said they were there and they weren't. If you would have said to me 44 years from now, the Jays aren't even going to be able to play in Toronto, they're going to be playing in Dunedin, I'd say, Dunedin, that little dinky park, Grant Field? Are you kidding me? No. 44 years from now, it's going to be this beautiful complex, and there's going to be a pandemic, and no way. Well, guess what? A non-sellout crowd of 1,348 attended last night's game at TD Park in Dunedin. That's far below the maximum allowed, which was over 1,900 fans.
Oh.
You see, they could have put 23% of capacity in that park last night. Fans knew it, but they stayed away in droves. Don't know why. 600 shy of capacity. Anyway, maybe the folks who stayed away knew something we didn't. Maybe they knew the game was going to take 4 hours to play, and they had to be in bed because they got to be up early tomorrow morning because they got to be, for the early bird special for dinner. It's at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
So a night game to start at like 7:30 and not over till like almost 11. You can't have that.
Right.
And the Jays had many chances to win the game, many chances, especially after Randall Grichuk made a fabulous diving grab, his second great defensive play of the game, to rob Mike Trout of a hit and a go-ahead RBI in the ninth. But they couldn't break the 5-5 tie. The game went into extras. And then with a runner at second for everybody that came up to the plate had a runner at second base.
Right.
In extra innings. All they had to do was squeeze one little run across the plate. But what happens? Here's what happens. 6-3, K, and K. That's Simeon, Biggio, Bichette, Teoscar, Vladdy, and Lourdes. The heart of your batting order whiffing with RISP. And you know what RISP is, don't you, Mike?
Runners in scoring position.
RISP, okay? The heart of your order. So I know that people don't like to bunt. I know that bullshit, okay? But in extra innings, in the bottom of the inning, when all you need is one run, learn some fundamentals, okay? I question Charlie Montoyo's logic when he pinch hit Rowdy Tellez with 2 out in the ninth for Danny Jansen. Not the pinch hitting thing. Okay, I get it. You want to get a guy in there who can jerk the ball out of the ballpark and win it for you. But and he worked a walk, and good for him. The dude was 0 for 16, poor Rowdy. He could have been swinging at shit. Instead, he got on base. Now the question is this. Do you put on someone like Jonathan Davis as a pinch runner, hope that he steals second, and then scores on a single by Marcus Semien? Or do you say, let's leave Rowdy there for now. Let's see what happens. If he gets to second on a single, then maybe we pinch run Jonathan Davis. But he didn't. He put Davis into pinch run, which was a head scratcher, and because Davis should have been the ghost runner to start the 10th inning at second base.
Right.
But instead, now he's at first base, and he gets picked off. He gets picked off first base. Second time this week that Jonathan Davis has made a bonehead base running mistake that cost the Jays a run and maybe a win. Remember, he tried to steal third with 2 outs the other night?
Yep.
And Buck Martinez says, unless you're 100% positive that you could steal that base, you don't try to steal third with 2 outs. You don't take the bat out of Marcus Semien's hands.
Right.
Anyway, did it again. So the Jays are lacking in simple fundamentals. This is a key point. I'm going to hammer this one home until you go, finally, fuck it, Hebsy. I can't listen to you anymore. Not that bad. The Jays are lacking in fundamentals because Danny Jansen, who couldn't lay down a bunt the other night, should have been bunting with Joe Panik at second and nobody out in the seventh in a tie game. Okay, Panik leads off with a double. He could have probably gone for 3, but the rule of baseball is you never make the first out or the third out of an inning at third base. And Jonathan Davis had done it, like I said before. So Panik's got a double. Beautiful leadoff double. Danny Jansen can't hit. You could give him a telephone pole up there and he still couldn't get it out. He's not a good hitter. But so because of that and because of the way things are in extra innings now, these guys have to learn to bunt, if only for this situation. So what does he do? He hits a ground ball to shortstop and does not advance the runner. Cardinal sin. Try to lay a bunt down. Try to lay 2 bunts down the right side to advance the runner to third. Panik's a pretty good base runner. Smart guy. All right, basic fundamental, lay that bunt down. But he can't do it. So much so that Charlie didn't even let him try. He's out.
You're riling up. You're riling up the anti-bunt contingent out there. They're quite passionate that they simply don't.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
But situationally, you have to look and say, is Danny Jansen a good enough hitter? If he swings the bat, he can advance the runner to third. So there's only 2 ways to do that. One is to swing and swing late because he's a right-handed hitter and try to push the ball to the right side. Once Joe Panik sees that the ball is hit to the right side and it's cleared the pitcher's mound, so the pitcher's not going to make the play, he's gone to third. They're not going to get him at third base. Right? Only a gold glove fielding first baseman is going to come across the diamond, a left-handed throwing, and fire it across the diamond, and he's still got to tag Panik at third base. So they're not. But they don't even try with Panik. Okay, and he hits, and the worst thing you could do is hit the grounder to short. The worst. Push it up the first baseline, hit it to second base, something. Can't do it.
Have I asked you
not
yet,
even trying to bunt.
What are your thoughts on these extra inning rules that we're playing with?
Well, they're going to be here at least for this year for sure.
Like, so how would you feel if they kept them? So, like, if they're pandemic only, are you okay with them? But what happens if the pandemic ends and these rules stick?
I'm getting used to it, and it is exciting because we know that in the first few innings somebody's going to score a run. It's not like you got to get a runner on base or you got to hit a home run. And that's why I'm saying you have to adjust your managing for these situations when you're at home and all you need is 1 run. Anyway, so Jansen grounds out, and then Simeon lines out, and then Biggio grounds out, and they get nothing, okay? That was in the bottom of the 7th, tie game. The Angels, they know how to play fundamental baseball at the right time. Kurt Suzuki, who had already gotten the golden sombrero on the night.
Right.
The golden sombrero. Buck mentions it, but he doesn't explain it for non-baseball fans. Most of us know It's 4 strikeouts.
Yes.
So after hitting 4 strikeouts, they say, you know what? Maybe you should try bunting, which they should have said to Danny Jansen. What does he do? He lays down a beautiful bunt, moves the runners up. Then David Fletcher hits a bloop single off Delise. In the 11th, they scored 2 runs. They win. Should have never happened.
Tyler says, never bunt, he says, but then he puts in parentheses. This is on your YouTube page. He puts in parentheses, except if you have a weak hitter at the plate in extra innings.
That's right, because guys like that had learned to bunt years earlier because the catcher's spot, a lot of times, if he bunts a runner over, the next batter is the pitcher. That's where they use the pinch hitter. You know, in situations 7th, 8th, 9th innings, it's like, all right, if you can bunt him over,
right,
we can bring so-and-so into pinch hit because we're ready to bring in a relief pitcher. It's the way it always was. And now Montoyo does that with Jansen because he's got Kirk on the bench, but like Kirk's a rookie. He's played 4 games in the major leagues. Anyway,
right.
The Angels know about fundamentals. Joe Maddon is a much better manager than Charlie Montoyo. That's not Charlie's fault. He doesn't have the experience that Joe Maddon does, although he worked with Joe Maddon for many years, the Tampa organization. So they are similar in that way. And Kurt Suzuki lays down the bunt, and beautiful, textbook. A bloop single, shouldn't have happened, did happen. So I'm upset about that. I'm upset that the Jays don't have the fundamentals or the manager doesn't trust the players enough to say, I need a bunt here. I don't care. Let it hit you, whatever. The other thing is, that really bothered me is that when Suzuki was up bunting, Borucki was the pitcher, and the first thing I thought of was, don't throw a fastball to a guy who wants to bunt. Throw the change, throw a curveball, throw something that has some movement. And any major league player will tell you it's much tougher to bunt a curveball or a slider when you're looking to bunt. Because if you offer and you miss, that's a strike. Even if the pitch was out of the zone, if you offer at that, throw him a curve, throw him something that's hard to bunt. Don't throw him a cookie that he can lay down a beautiful bunt with. It's another thing. Hey.
Indeed.
While I'm at it, what's up with George Springer? Mike, why do we get these guys, the big hype guys, we can't even see them play because they're hurting themselves in spring training? I've been to spring training before. How hard is this guy working? What's he doing to get hurt twice during spring training? Not even a game. An oblique? What did he do? Swung too hard? Do PGA professionals do this? Brooks Koepka, I swung too hard. My rib. No. Spring training is to get in shape for the season. What the hell is George Springer doing? Okay? An oblique, he must have fallen on his wallet or something like that. and then a low-grade quad strain while running the bases? What's he doing? Is he trying to be Usain Bolt out there? Jog the bases. That's not a game. Look, if a guy gets hurt playing in a game, trying to stretch a double into a triple, something like that, stretching for a fly ball over the fence, diving.
Right.
I'm okay with that. That's part of the game, but not during spring training.
But don't you think it's prudent for the Jays to be overly cautious with Springer at this point?
Mike, how fragile is this guy? What are we talking about? A China doll here?
Well, we can
porcelain?
We can go a couple of weeks without Springer.
Oh, hey, listen. If the Blue Jays went out and signed damaged goods, then I got a big problem. If this guy had a pre-existing condition,
could you imagine
an oblique strain and then a quad strain? Oh, he gets hit by a pitch and breaks his finger. Okay, it'll heal. But what the hell is this? And how many games is this dude going to miss?
Indeed.
I want to know if they really checked on his medical condition or they went, we can get Springer. And somebody went, well, hang on a second. I've got some injury problems here. The guy's fragile out there. Maybe he shouldn't go to spring training. Well, why not? Well, because in spring training, you could get hurt. You could strain an oblique by swinging too hard. You could run the bases and pull a quad or a hammy, be out for a long time. And then what are the Jays going to do?
Will Chan he says you're on fire this morning. So
oh my God. And don't even get me started with Nate Pearson. Seriously, I'm going to throw up if one more person says there's the future of the Blue Jays. It's Nate Pearson to throw 103 miles an hour. This dude was wearing a sports bra yesterday, working out on flat ground. He hasn't even started his spring training. Okay? This is the most I've never seen so many injury-prone guys who we hear nothing but hype about that they can't even get out of spring training. You know what spring training used to be, Mike? Spring training was take it easy, put the cigarette down, run across the field, run back. Okay? Then kibitz around a little bit, whatever, and play a little pepper, go in the cage a bit, take it easy. Okay? I remember Bobby Cox saying, man, the last thing I want is somebody getting hurt in spring training. Take it easy. That's why we have spring training.
Right.
Be ready for the season. Can you imagine Charlie Montoyo? Springer, the hell are you doing? We need you for 162 games. Stop running the bases what do you think this is? Who are you trying to prove?
Well, that's just it, though.
I can run faster than you. Come on, let's sprint from first to third. Oh, my quad. Oh, shit, my quad. And everyone's like, what's going on? Well, Springer had a bet going with Jonathan Davis to see who could run faster from first to third. $50 bet. I love what
you're selling here, but Springer is quite the proven commodity. I don't know if it really works for this guy. This guy, I think we know what we got, and he might just have a little strained oblique, and maybe they're just being overly cautious because why rush him back?
Are you kidding me? Seriously. You think they're going to wait till he's exactly 100%? That may never happen. He was at 95% with his oblique, and then when he went and ran the bases, he pulled a quad. Come on, Mike, think about this. Yeah. What's next? Okay, is there a black cloud over this guy? Is he going to get hit by a pitch when he makes his first appearance? Here's George Springer, ladies and gentlemen. Missed the first 25 games of the season. Great to have him back. Oh, he's hit by a pitch, breaks a finger. Oy.
There's a lot of hype around this man. I mean, look at that. Look at that contract. I hope
Nate
it's
Pearson too. Oh,
young Mike was very disappointed at Bill Caudle. I just don't want to.
That's 100 years ago.
It's young Mike.
Bill Caudle. Look, Bill Caudle came with a lot of hype.
No, that's my point. Like, he came with a lot of hype and he did not deliver.
No, but he wasn't injured. He didn't miss the first 20 games of the season.
I know. I'm just trying to find a historical comparison.
No, we haven't even seen. I'm dying to see him play, but it looks to me like when and if he does play, he's going to be the DH to start with, because we don't want to put him out in the outfield. He might have to run after a ball and strain another quad.
Hey, you asked for questions, so there's a question on YouTube. Did you see the Conforto walk-off hit by pitch last night? And then he wants to know how's that not reviewable, but you can talk about that later.
Right. We'll get to that later. Okay. I'm still ranting on this. Okay, so there's at one point, I'm looking at this team. They're in a tie game, and here's who you got on the field. Kirk catching, 5 games of experience in the major leagues. Played A-ball last year. Merriweather pitching, 7 games of experience, major leagues. Vladdy at first, 30-some-odd games playing first base. Bo at short, who's played about 75 games. And Biggio at third, who's played like 15 games. So I added it up. So it's 187 total major league games played by those players at those positions.
Wow.
Meanwhile, the Angels have got Trout, they got Fowler, they got Kurt Suzuki, they got Shohei Ohtani, they got veteran players. Right?
Right.
They can bunt, they can run, they can hit and run, they can play defense. They have tons more experience. Here we got a team that has starting pitchers like Tanner Roark and Ross Stripling. Mike, obviously not good enough early on.
Right.
The starting pitcher. But this team, what they need more than anything else is reps. And too many of them are learning a new position at the major league level, while every other team in baseball has experienced players there. This is the youngest team in Major League Baseball. It's going to be fun, but it's going to be frustrating. And I think, not that I know more than Charlie Montoyo, but I'd like to see Charlie put the same lineup out there every day for a while, just to let these guys get familiar with each other. If Simeon's your second baseman, put him at second. If you want him to play shortstop and try Bo somewhere else, that's fine. But now to move this guy to short, that guy to second, that guy to DH, and rotate those positions doesn't do it for me, right? And if you add the shift to it, now Biggio, he's a second baseman in the shift, but he's a third baseman when there's no shift. Bo has to learn how to defend differently in the shift and out of the shift. Who's my second baseman? Am I throwing to Simeon every day, or is it going to be Joe Panic every once in a while? And how's Vladdy going to improve? The only way to do it is they need reps. They need to be playing together a number of games. They need to learn by making mistakes. And then by the end of the year, you can go, you know what? These guys played 120 games together. And in 2022, 2023, they're going to be unstoppable, because we all know they can hit for the most part. But we don't know if they can field.
No doubt. What is this team? 3-4? I mean, early days.
3-4 with Ryu, your ace, having lost the other day 2-1.
Right.
In another game where they cost them a run because of defense. But if Ryu's your ace and your stopper, you've got to be able to compliment him with something reasonable. But they let Matt Shoemaker go, and they didn't sign Taiwan Walker and all these other guys who we all got excited about. No, we're going to try him. We got this guy Stripling. Let's try him. He looked awful. Roark, awful. Yeah. Who else they got in the rotation? Robbie Ray coming back? What?
Yeah.
There's another thing, is that when the guy comes back, they think that when the guy comes back from injury, he's all set to go. He's rare to go. He's going to blow guys away. And as good as Steven Matz pitched the other day, and he was beautiful.
Yeah, he was.
You can't expect that every time out, right? I mean, he's somewhere probably between what he did the other day and what he did last year. Hopefully more towards what's this year. You can't look at the guy after one start and go, oh, he's the man.
Okay, while you're talking about the rotation, though, there's somebody on the YouTube channel, the Hebsy YouTube channel, wants you to talk about Pearson. So please, let's hear some Pearson.
Monumental failure with this squad. They should have brought him along and ensured that he was blowing guys away in AAA. But since there was no AAA, they had to put him on the Major League roster. And since he was on the Major League roster, he was, okay, he's one of our guys. He's going to be an ace. This guy is yet to prove that he can pitch in the major leagues, and really yet to prove that he can dominate at the AAA level. But they committed themselves to him because he throws 102.
Right.
He doesn't know where the ball is going, but he throws 102. So they fell in love with his fastball.
Yes.
He's not a pitcher.
Okay, I had
And
Will.
obviously, there's something wrong with his mechanics, or he wouldn't be throwing off flat ground
Right.
months after he should have been in top shape. So what's the problem?
So last Friday, I had Mike Wilner on Toronto Mike, and I talked to him about Pearson. And Wilner feels like you should use your bullets at the major league level and not at like AAA. Like
What bullets? Show me the bullets.
He says I think this is fact, that Pearson he's still the top ranked starter, not in the majors. I don't know how they phrase that, but that he's the number one prospect, I think, amongst pitchers.
Mike, prospect.
Yeah,
How
right.
old is a prospect? He's going to be 24.
Right.
Let's look at the experience he has in the majors, in the minors. He hasn't pitched much at all. Honestly, to think that he's going to be remotely successful against major league hitters is a pipe dream. Honestly, the hype that surrounded this guy, he's done nothing. He's not proven that he can go out there and get batters out, or he has any command of the strike zone. 103 or not. Dial it down to 99, like Koufax did. Maybe you'll find the plate, become a dominant pitcher. And maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe they know something I don't know.
I hope so.
Maybe they're going, this Hebsy, we're going to stick it up his ass. We're going to show him and everyone else how great Nate Pearson is. As soon as we take that sports bra off him and let him pitch off a mound, you'll see. Once he starts getting Florida State League hitters out with regularity, you watch. We're going to add him to this team. That's all we need, is yet another inexperienced player that we have high hopes for. Okay, the Mets won a game yesterday that they really should have given back. You see, home plate umpire Ron Culpa was about to call strike 3 to end actually, it wouldn't have ended the ball game. It was a tie. It would have been a tie game there. Strike 3 on Michael Conforto of the Mets. But Conforto stuck his elbow over the plate, allowed the pitch to hit him, and gave the Mets a victory when Culpa changed his call to hit by pitch, which forced in the winning run. Most bizarre ending I've ever seen of a baseball game. And even the Mets announcers, Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling, said it was the wrong call. Even though it gave their team, the Mets, a walk-off win, they were embarrassed.
Right.
That Culpa, I don't think he said Culpa should lose his job, but I said it. This ump should lose his job. You're about to call strike 3, and then the guy sticks his elbow out, and the ball grazes his elbow, and then you change your call, and then it's not reviewable? What do you mean it's not reviewable? Get the call right, you dickwads.
Interesting.
Terrible. But to hear the Mets announcers go, oh, no. You're going, can you imagine? Like the guy who does the Boston Bruin games, Jack Edwards. Can you imagine Jack Edwards going, oh, no, the Bruins don't deserve that goal. No. No way. That's how bad it was.
Wow.
All right, some TV and radio notes. No Dan Schulman on the opener. Weird, man. Weird. Buck and Pat Tabler are at the game. No Dan at all, nothing. No contribution from anyone else there, even though you have Ben Wagner. He did something on the pregame show wearing a coat 3 sizes too big for him. Okay? And not made up to look like a television guy. He was a radio guy.
Right.
I don't know if they said to him, Ben, you got to get a wardrobe or dress a certain way, or I don't know. Anyway, so I'm watching that. I'm listening to listen to Buck and Pat do the game on the simulcast is terrible.
Yeah, they don't care, Hebsy. They don't care.
Oh, it's awful. There were lulls there where like, I'm listening, say something, give me a hint, and give me an indication. Are there runners on base? What's the count? Please, something. Listening to 1,300 fans in Dunedin going, you want to go home soon, Marge? Yep, gotta get up early. Go for a walk. Florida. Anyway, so I was frustrated with that, but I understand that the cheapskates at Rogers are, not prepared to offer a radio broadcast. It's going to be agony. Terribly frustrating.
Now, we were warned about this, so home games.
I don't care. Even so,
aren't going to have
Come on,
Schulman.
give me some idea.
Oh, I know. I'm referring now to the fact we had, Buck and Tabby instead of Dan Shulman. So Dan Shulman's only doing road games from his Toronto home. Everyone's
Correct.
at home, I guess, but when they're in Dunedin, then you get Buck and Tabby.
We get Buck
there.
and Pat live in Dunedin at the ballpark.
So what would you rather have Dan Shulman watching it on a screen in his Toronto home?
Well, it's not a screen, it's about 9 screens.
Yeah, right.
He gets every possible angle.
But he's that good that you'll take that over Buck calling a game live.
Of course, because Dan has radio chops.
Right.
Big time. And Buck and Pat don't. Anyway, then there was this other thing too, where Hazel Mae does an interview with Vladdy Jr. Now, first of all, I would not want to be in the media business having to cover a team from a distance, not being able to be in the same room with them and still be able to do a decent interview or whatever. So I give them a lot of credit, but they really overproduced this interview where Hazel sits down on a director's chair with lights, Klieg lights in behind, nice set.
Right.
And Vladdy, of course, is in a monitor somewhere, down in Florida. And she's asking the question in English as if he understands English. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Hey, Vladdy, you told us about your daughters and stuff like that. And it's good. Look, it's casual. But you know that Vladdy is listening to this and he's not going to answer her until the interpreter goes in Spanish, this is what Hazel was asking.
Right.
And so they make an edit and then you hear his answer in Spanish right after she has asked the question in English. That's good editing.
Sure.
But it just, I don't know. It's not the same. Even if she was sitting in the same room with him and she asked him the questions, he could probably tell by her tone, probably understand some of the words in English and get the vibe of the interview. But when you're sitting looking at a monitor, you're looking at a screen somewhere and someone's not there, that's a tough thing to do. So I watched it and I said, I don't know. It was interesting, but at the same time, I think they could have done something else, than a straight interview that had to be edited because there was an interpreter involved.
On that note, how do you care if Vladdy, works on his English?
I do.
That's important to you, right? You want him to. Is that because he's playing for a team based in Toronto, which is primarily? I guess English is the. I know we're a bilingual country, but Toronto's primarily English.
No, it's more than that. It's a respect. If I were to be in the Dominican Republic, I would do my best to learn Spanish. Not so much that I would be comfortable in front of a television camera and microphone to speak in Spanish. That I understand. But enough so that you would give the indication that you were trying out of respect for the people that are watching and listening. Now, I think Vladdy has not a command of the English language, but enough to get by if he wants to.
Right.
His father was exactly the same. Never learned to speak English or French to my knowledge. Got by with what they call pidgin English. And I think Vladdy's the same. I think he can communicate with his teammates in the dugout. Baseball's a universal language. But I would hope that he would put some effort into learning. But I don't think besides baseball, Vladdy is that type of a guy. Do you know what I mean?
Well, Brian is suggesting that it's all an act and that, father and son can speak English fluently, but they just haven't bought into.
Not fluently. No, they can
Not even
speak
father?
English.
Okay.
But let me ask you a question, Mike.
Sure.
Would you feel comfortable speaking German to your German audience if you knew pidgin German, but that's it? Or lay German?
It's a tough question to answer. It all depends on how much I knew. So it's tough to answer, but.
Look, my French, I was, 75% bilingual when I worked in Montreal. But I was never comfortable enough, unless I had written it out in advance and practiced it, to speak, in full sentences with, the proper inflection, et cetera, in French. I did it once at an event where I had to be bilingual. So, hi, ladies and gentlemen, and then, félicitations, mesdames et messieurs. And I thought I pulled it off pretty well.
Right.
But you could tell by those who spoke French, there was like, Mark, we all, nice try. It was a nice try.
I'm sure they appreciated the effort, though.
That's it, the effort. And I think that's what I'd like that from Vladdy.
Yeah, and again, we're as pointed out on your YouTube page, Edwin did the same thing, right? Edwin was never comfortable.
Guys did.
So
look, I remember talking with Emilio Bonifacio.
Mm-hmm.
And his English is very good.
Okay.
But he would prefer, if he wanted to articulate his thoughts, to do it in Spanish.
It's a comfort thing.
Right, because when he does it in English, he thinks about the words he's using. They may not be the appropriate words, but he would hope that his inflection or whatever would make up for that. Okay, we know what he's saying here. And that's really what it comes down to. We understand what he's saying.
Right. And one last thing I want to give, Dr. Hockey is on your YouTube page. Just he can't believe Rogers is going to go through with this radio simulcast thing all season. He says it's crap.
It's going to be a 1-year thing. Guaranteed that next season, if they're back in Toronto, and let's hope that they are, there will be a dedicated radio team. And I think even now they're looking at the other guy or maybe the two guys and attempting in some way, shape, or form to get those two people together to see what the chemistry is like. Because we won't stand for it. We just won't.
Okay.
By the way, I wanted to not apologize, but I wanted to make note of John Axford's appearance yesterday on the desk. When he did the first game, I didn't like his presentation, but I like it now when he's gripping a baseball. When he's sitting on the desk and he's actually holding a ball, he is so much more demonstrative, so much more articulate, so much more relaxed. Okay? So let this be his Linus blanket or whatever it is. But don't put John Axford on the air and have him look at a camera and try to explain something unless he's holding a baseball in his hands. For now.
Right.
He's so comfortable. He's explaining the grip. He's using it to gesticulate. You got it? This guy's held a baseball in his hands for how many hours of his life? Come on, it's natural.
Right.
And when he's got a baseball in his hands, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. So that's I like John as a pitcher. Seems like a very nice guy.
Sure.
Here's how you get him over the nervousness. I mean, he doesn't have experience. It's not like he was a minor league, he worked in television or he was, he's comfortable talking in front of a camera. Sure, when you ask him a question, but when you're on a desk and you're looking at, a blank, canvas there, he kind of has the deer in the headlights. Anyway, keep it up. Producer, Jamie, Joe, guys, John is great when he's got that ball in his hands. There you go. A little tip from me. All right. Before we get to the Leafs, let's talk about the Masters, which is going on right now. I have no idea. I'll check it out later on. I spent way too much time watching the Masters yesterday. Wasted my day. Perry Lefko, the fine journalist, has a Masters pool going. All right. $10. He's got I think 50 entries, so like $500 or something close to that for the winner. And then other people are kicking in other prizes, winner take all. So you can pick any 4 players, and whoever has the best, aggregate score wins.
Okay.
So I got Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Brooks Koepka, Rory McIlroy. It was awful. Not looking good for me. But if you had Justin Rose in your pool, you're sitting pretty because he fired a 765 in the opening round to take the lead. But there's nobody in Perry's Masters pool that has Justin Rose.
Interesting.
Yeah. As you know, the real tournament doesn't begin till the back 9 on Sunday. I mean, the rest is just you're jockeying for position. Canadian Mackenzie Hughes finished at even par after the first round. Corey Connors was at a +1. A smattering of patrons at Augusta National, socially distanced. And surprisingly, or not surprisingly, Mike, TSN has a whole crew down there. And as pointed out on social media, they had posted a picture of the crew, I guess at their rented house in Augusta on the front porch.
Right.
And someone pointed out on social media the fact that they were an all-white crew, which is kind of staggering and shocking at the same time, especially in this day and age. And this particular event in the state of Georgia, the same state where Major League Baseball pulled the All-Star game from. Mike, do you think it matters that outlets such as the Golf Channel and ESPN use persons of color on their broadcasts, on their Masters reports, yet TSN doesn't use, Kayla Gray, Jermaine Franklin, Farhan Lalji, persons of color that work for them?
Well, sure, it matters, right? Of course, representation matters. But I'm guessing nobody on their staff, no person of color on their staff is a golf expert. Is that the problem here?
Golf expert?
I don't know.
You have to be an expert, meaning you've played golf before?
No, good point.
You know about the history of golf?
It's tough for me because I haven't watched any of the, I don't typically
I'll
watch
give you an
golf
example.
coverage,
Okay,
so.
they use Graham Dillette as their analyst, and Graham Dillette is a professional golfer. He's Canadian,
right?
From I believe Weyburn, Saskatchewan. Nice fellow, pretty good on the air, but I mean, he's never played in a Masters before. I don't believe he's played he's probably played there, but I don't believe he's played a competitive round there that we know about. And so I'm not saying that they shouldn't have him on the telecast, but why not add another person? I don't know.
I mean, you're asking,
is diversity important or is it not? Especially here where there's no journalism involved, remember. No real journalism involved in their Masters reports. Real journalism would be, here in Georgia, there's been and they don't do it on the other stations either. They don't get into politics as to why they should be there because of the state of Georgia and, voter suppression. And so they don't even they don't even discuss that. They don't even discuss the Tiger Woods is twice over the speed limit, rolling his Genesis on him. You know what I mean? Like they don't talk about those things because that's not good for golf. They're strictly there to pump up the sport of golf and pump up the Masters.
I think
how dare you say anything controversial during your Masters broadcast?
Right, they're probably keeping the politics out of it. But
keep the politics out of it, which means if someone said, well, maybe don't you think we should add a person of color perhaps to this because other networks are, but we have persons of color. Why can't it be equal representation? And can we not discuss the fact that Lee Elder, the great player of his own right, and the first black to appear at the Masters, was there. He didn't hit a ceremonial first swing. He's in ill health, but he was recognized, and there was somewhat of an apology, I guess, sort of a recognition by the Masters Committee to say, Lee Elder overcame an awful lot, and we want to, especially now, we want to honor him. We want to recognize his contribution and what he's done for golf, and broke down barriers.
Well, I think it's important you ask these questions, right? I think that we have these discussions because I don't have all the answers, but I do know it matters. Like your original question is like, does it matter? Well, yeah, of course it matters. So
I didn't someone else brought it up. And again, it was a picture posted. Hey, here's our crew. Here we are. I don't know, 7 or 8 of them, I guess, on the front steps.
So is this like Bob Weeks?
Someone pointed out and say, boy, all white crew in Georgia for the Masters. Big surprise.
Yeah. James Duthie and Bob Weeks and, these cats.
No, not Duthie.
No,
Duthie's
he's not
he's not.
Oh, because of the trade deadline, probably.
Trade deadline day.
Right. I know that will break his heart because, he wants to be there.
Yeah. But I mean, had it been a normal crew, yeah, James would be down there as well. And maybe others, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it important? Sure it is.
Sure, it's important. And
is someone going to bring it up, not on the telecast, but on social media? Well, just a question.
Well, really, that's our role, right? Because we're completely independent, so we don't have to worry about upsetting partners or Bell Media backlash. You can just call it out if you see there's. And I think
I just asked the question.
You're asking a question.
Is their broadcast crew too white? Did they ever look at it? And is it important to them to show, hey, here's TSN down here, and yes, we have women, we have men. We have people of different sexual orientation. We have people of different color, different background. This is us. This is Canada. This is TSN. Here you go.
It's funny, you're talking about this pool from Perry Lefko, and I'm hearing the players, and I do know these names mainly from you, actually. But I got to say, if and I know this won't happen this year because, of course, he's he's not there. But unless you tell me Tiger Woods or a Canadian is in contention in that back nine, I actually have no interest in the Masters on a personal level. So I can tell you that I know Tiger Woods is a person of color, right? And there was Vijay Singh, and I know of a few successful, but as sports go, golf is awfully white. And maybe this is a reflection of that. And I think it is important to ask the question, does it matter? And I would say, you're damn right it matters. Damn right it matters.
No, nobody does journalism at the Masters. I mean, real journalism. It's golf. It's pumping up the game. Oh, sure, it's talking about, nefarious events or Patrick Reed cheating or whatever, but they really, really don't. They're
Right.
kind of, the Masters thing is, no, you don't get into that. I mean, they fired, what's his name? Gary McCord from the Masters broadcast because he said the greens were so fast they were like bikini waxed. Oh, that's it. Off the broadcast.
That's it.
So they have tremendous control. Anyway.
Interesting question, Hebsy.
Mike, Freddie Andersen listed as the starter for the Leafs game tomorrow against Ottawa. Okay? Monday, the Leafs play Montreal. The starter listed as Freddie Andersen. Tuesday, the Leafs play Calgary. The starter, Jack Campbell. Now, I didn't see this released anywhere. I'm trying to look around. I haven't heard Sheldon Keefe say my starter is so-and-so or Freddie's almost ready. I do remember about a week or so ago them saying, oh no, Freddie's not going to be back for a while. Could be a while. Remember that?
Yeah.
Michael Hutchinson's the backup, who did well in his one win. I forget who they played, but he played pretty well. But you're going, no, we can't have Jack Campbell and Michael Hutchinson as our goalies going forward. It's got to be Freddie when he's ready. Apparently he's ready.
Yeah, we got to find out who is Freddie. I think we got to find out what he's got. I'm of the belief that since we're still in the regular season here, that if you're a starter and you get hurt, you still come back and you have an opportunity to keep your role. It'll all depend how he plays down the stretch.
This is the proper move by Coach Sheldon Keefe. Okay, his squad's got a 5-point lead atop the division over Edmonton. They got a game in hand on the Oilers. If ever there was a time to test out your injured goalie, if he's ready to go, and sit your guy who's won 10 in a row, now's the time, right? Even if Freddie doesn't play well and the Leafs lose both games, they still have a lead. They still have a bit of a cushion. Then they go, okay, I guess we're going back to Jack now. And Jack, you're going to have to carry the load. And Freddie, you're the backup. And I don't know.
Yeah, let's find out who
you've got
Freddie
to get him
is.
in there. You've got to put him in there now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ottawa and Montreal.
Absolutely. Let's find out who Freddie is. And then, who you play the hot hand in the playoffs and see how long you can ride that bus.
Let's see what kind of a squad you've got. Everyone's coming back from injury. We really don't have any major injury issues with this team. Guys are coming back. I pointed out Wayne Simmons was playing poorly last week. Last couple games I've watched him, he's had much more jump. Maybe he's fully recovered from his injuries. You don't know these things. But he looks a lot better. The team has more jump. They're meshing better, except for the power play, which I just think they're overthinking it. Blast away with this power play. Just blast away. Okay? Back, forth, trying to find the angle to try to get that shot. Just blast it. Okay? That's the type of team they have. Marner from this side, Matthews from that side. Fire that puck. Because you never know what's going to happen. It's going to bounce here or there. Get the shot on goal. Sometimes when they overthink it, they end up giving up a breakaway shorthanded or something like that. But they've just had all these opportunities. How can a team play so well when they're 1 for 147 on the power play? How do they do that? The best line, of course, is when the Leafs when there's a penalty, the Leafs should just decline it. That's an old joke.
That's a good one.
And do you think the Leafs should make a move at the trade deadline? Oh, yeah, we trade this guy for a bag of pucks. I think they're okay. I don't see where unless they can get rid of Nylander, who's got COVID. Who wants him now? Well, he's under COVID protocol because you need money to sign Zach Hyman. Are we looking down the road or are we looking for the playoffs this year and a deep run to the Stanley Cup? Which one is it?
Well, hopefully with this team, the way it's constructed, we're looking at the playoffs this year.
You betcha. Meanwhile, the Vancouver Canucks have been stopped cold by COVID, and the NHL really has to scramble now to figure out a lot of things. But number one is, how do you complete the schedule? Can they complete the schedule? Can each team play the same number of games? And I don't envy the folks in charge at the NHL because the situation changes literally minute by minute. 25 Canucks players and staff have been affected. We don't know at this very moment what condition they're in, how varying the conditions are. The strain apparently is this new strain, which knocks you right on your ass. Okay, you're vomiting and your lungs are filling up with fluid and all kinds of horrible stuff. So let's think about the safety of the players first.
Sure.
But you can't help but think, what does the NHL do if Vancouver can't complete a schedule? Or how about this? What do they do when Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews are battling for the Art Ross Trophy, yet Austin Matthews' team has played 5 less games, or his team has played less games, and he's got a chance to win the Rocket Richard Trophy with most goals, but Matthews has played 8 more games. Do you do it on percentage of goals scored per game played? How do you give out the Art Ross? How do you give out the Rocket Richard if these teams haven't played the same number of games?
I'd say those trophies are a very low priority during a pandemic here. And by the way, this
is something to think about.
Something to think about for sure. Now, these
do you not give them out? Do you say sorry?
Yeah, you give them out, but I think it'll end up being that if your team played 5 less games, well, then you're shit out of luck, as they say. I think is how it'll end up being.
Here's the difference, Mike.
Okay, yeah.
If you're a player and you got injured and you only played in 74 of the 82 games, yeah, right. Of course,
sure.
But if your team was never given an opportunity to play those games, you can't be punished for that.
It'll be interesting.
We're really sorry you only had 47 goals in 42 games. He played 52 games, or whatever the number is.
Well, here, on the note of the pandemic, firstly, let me speak. It scares me to hear about all these hockey players are like, they're young, of course, because they're NHL players, and they're fit as a fiddle. Like, to hear that segment of our population being knocked down by COVID is really scary for me. I miss the good old days when you heard like SARS in 2003. Oh yeah, if you were really old and sick, it got you. But if you're healthy and young, you're okay. This is scary, firstly. And then on this note, real quick, I just want to say, Hebsy, I follow you on social media, and I'm very happy for you and excited that you finally got your jab, right? You got your first vaccination shot this week.
I did. I went Easter Sunday. I had applied at the local pharmacies and that to get the AstraZeneca shot.
Right.
But the AstraZeneca shot, you take it and then you can't make an appointment for your second shot. It's like, we'll call you when we're ready to give you the second shot.
Right.
Kind of didn't like that whole idea. And so I went on the Toronto website. I was actually watching CP24 and John Tory was on. And he said, look, go to this website, toronto.ca/COVID-19. Went to it. Boom. Everything. How old are you? Right. When do you want to come?
Right.
Come on down.
Good.
And I went to Metro Toronto Convention Center, and in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm talking, you lined up like you're going to the airport. You go through this checkpoint. You go through that checkpoint. Let's see your ID. Fill this out. Go there. Swab. Needle. Wait for 15 minutes. Off you go. Easy.
That sounds like my flu shot experience at the same location.
Right. But the beauty of it is, Mike, is that when you register for your first shot, you automatically get a date for your second shot. Now that date isn't until like late July,
right?
And they may move that up if everyone in Canada has been vaccinated by then. They'll move that date up for your second shot. But when you take AstraZeneca, it's like, yeah, we'll call you. We'll call you when you're ready for the second shot, which means it's up to you. Right. To call the pharmacy, visit the pharmacy, badger them, bother them.
That could be stressful.
Until they say, well, we can't give you that second shot because we still are administering the first vaccine to a number of people. And you're frustrated and you don't have a date and what the hell's going on, even though you're 65% okay.
Well, you must have some relief, though, knowing that you got that first shot and it should alleviate symptoms should you contract COVID-19.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that must feel
good.
Buddy. I'm jealous.
I didn't do the selfie thing though. I kind of.
But that just.
I don't want people to there's Mark with a mask and his arm rolled up and his fleshy upper arm and a needle going in there.
I saw Gordon Lightfoot do that. I thought it was kind of neat.
I don't want to see that. I want to see you when you're most vulnerable. Say, hi, here I am. I'm getting my shot. I'm going to be okay. No, so I took a picture of the needles, all the syringes,
right
in the
bin,
the container that was. I had asked the nurse. He was doing a 12-hour shift. I said, how many? 200-300? That's a lot.
Right.
I mean, that's not your just jab, arm, next. That's it's not like that. You sit down, you have to fill out, another form. You have to answer some questions. They swab you, put the needle in, then you got to wait. So it's not like you're knocking them off like rapid fire, but still 200-300 jabs into people's arms. Man. So I give them a lot of credit. Shout out to all of them.
Shout out
also to Josh Lewinberg, reporter for the Toronto Raptors. Does a really good job staying on top of things in Raptorland. There's so much going on, man. Good picture of Gary Trent Jr. wearing a Blue Jays jersey the other day.
Right.
So I got in touch with Josh, even though he's here in Toronto, but I said, geez, you think these guys from the Raptors might go up to Dunedin and see the Jays play? It's not far at all from Tampa to Dunedin, which would be really cool. Hey, let's pan the audience. Hey, there's Gary Trent Jr. and Chris Boucher in the stands watching the Jays. I think that'd be really cool. Anyway, yeah, so to cover a team from a distance when you were used to talking to the players face-to-face all this time, unbelievably tough. So, all those reporters, Hazel Mae trying to interview, Vladdy in Spanish and Josh trying to interview Nick Nurse or whoever comes to the podium after a game from a distance. That's really difficult. And to stay on top of things, to be, in the loop, to at least be able to say what's going on somewhat behind the scenes and some inside basketball. I really like that. It's good. Raptors played again last night. Went into the tank, did they? I don't know. They got 38 points from Chris Boucher. But the Chicago Bulls, the team they're chasing for the 10th and final playoff spot, which is the play-in spot, 9 and 10 will play in to see, who gets into the playoffs.
Right.
They got their asses kicked, 122-113. And they now trail the Bulls by 3 games for that final play-in spot. And they're only 4 games from finishing dead last in the conference and getting a really nice high draft pick.
So Andrew
Mike,
Jeeves,
which way should they go?
I was going to say, Andrew Reeves wants to hear if you think the Raptors will make the playoffs this year.
No.
Or at least the play-in slot, I should specify.
No.
And do you think they should play to make the playoffs, or should they just maybe, put a lineup?
No.
Yeah, right.
No, I think Nick Nurse has an opportunity to try out certain players like the Chris Bouchers of the world, like Bembry's, like a bunch of others. Let them play. It may not be his best squad to put out there, but he's thinking about next season already. He's thinking, who do I have for next year? Well, can we contend? What do we need? Because this team is not going to go places. And even if they happen to overtake Chicago for the final and then win the play-in, they're just not good enough.
Right. We need a first round pick here. We need a good draft pick.
And the other thing, Mike, is they've been affected more than other teams by not necessarily COVID, but certainly not having a home.
Agreed. Absolutely.
It's got to I can't imagine being away from your home, your fans, the atmosphere that all these other teams have. Even in a pandemic, imagine, being a Dallas Mavericks fan or a Houston Rocket. Well, maybe not the Rockets. Lakers. These are places where fans can now go to watch the games in certain places. There are crowds going to these games. And the same with the hockey games in the U.S. There are crowds, at Madison Square Garden, New Jersey, Boston.
Yes.
St. Louis, Arizona. There are people going to the games, couple thousand, but they're going. Anyway.
Well, they're so far ahead of us down there in terms of vaccinations. Far ahead.
Okay, so I'm listening to the radio the other day. I'm out and about in the car. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning. And here's my choices for sports radio. Okay. I got Fan 590 in Toronto. They're talking about the Calgary Flames and Daryl Sutter. And what a great guy Daryl Sutter is and how tough it is in Calgary. And if I hear one more thing about Calgary, I'm going to run this car off the road. I'm in Toronto. I want Toronto stuff. Is that too much to ask?
No.
And our Calgary reporter, who gives a shit? Sorry. Not sorry.
But they can't just talk about Leafs, can they?
Toronto, why not? Why not? I'm from Toronto. I watch every Leaf game. I don't want to hear anything more about Calgary and their problems.
Okay, part of my ignorance, what is the 10 o'clock show? What are you listening? Is that like Hockey Central or something like that?
No.
Okay, I don't even know.
The host never identified himself.
Okay.
It might have been J.D. Bunkus.
Okay.
I honestly don't know. But he's talking to some guy from Calgary. They're going on and on about Calgary. I'm going, this is Toronto.
Right.
Give me Leafs.
Right.
Give me Raptors. Give me Blue Jays. Give me TFC. Give me Canadians playing in the Masters for 200, Alex. Give me something. But the people listening to the station are listening in Toronto or are Toronto sports fans, like the people that listen to this podcast. Folks, if I start talking about the Calgary Flames,
right,
how many of you are going to flip off right now? Right. We're here for the Toronto content.
There are podcasts.
So what do? I switch. I'm aggravated, and I switch to the other all sports station in Toronto, TSN 1050. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. Mike, Dan Patrick, syndicated U.S. show. I love Dan Patrick. Don't get me wrong. He's great. But come on, they're talking about Mark Few's legacy at Gonzaga.
Right.
No Toronto content. Nothing. TSN 1050, home of Overdrive, my favorite show. And they can't put some local content. They have to run U.S. syndicated programming and expect people to tune in and go, yeah, I want to advertise on that station because they talk Toronto sports. Bullshit. Get your act together. Or we're going to have to start a radio station here on YouTube. Okay?
Right.
From 10 till noon every day because the Toronto stations won't give us any programming. That's it.
Wow. On fire.
By the way, Mike, name the TV sportscaster who called Malachi Flynn Malachi Flynn on a highlight package. Come on. Professional sports anchor doesn't know the name of a player on a team that their station covers on a regular basis. Malachi Flynn with the shot.
Danielle Michaud.
You think I'm going to answer that question? Get myself in trouble?
I want to know the name.
Danielle Michaud knows. She knows.
Oh, you asked me to guess. I have no idea.
She knows Malachi Flynn very well.
Right. I have no idea.
But someone else who should know better because they're broadcasting on a major national all-sports station.
Wow.
Doesn't ask the producer. Doesn't ask someone else. If I got this right, is it Malachi? Yeah, that's what it is. Now let's watch and see the mistake.
Malachi.
Giggle. No. You're not sure? Ask.
So
How many people out there? How many people are named Malachi? Not that there's a lot of Malachis out there, but seriously.
Right.
Malachi, that can't be the name. Is this how you pronounce the name? No, it's Malachi. Oh, thanks. I would have said Malachi on the air. Well, you did.
TSN?
Hey, Mike, you want to get me in trouble?
Yeah. Well, you're good. You do a good enough job on your own.
Watch all the sportscasts and tell me which anchor would be capable of saying, that's Malachi Flynn with a 3. But saying it like you knew the name. That's Malachi Flynn bearing the 3. Not like, Malachi Flynn? That's a funny name. All right, it was the 44th anniversary of the first opening day in Blue Jays history yesterday. I know millions of people claim they were there April 7th, 77. I was there. Almost got decapitated by a Chet Lemon foul ball down the right field line, a screamer.
Wow.
And many of us chanted, "We want beer."
Right.
For a number of years at Toronto's Exhibition Stadium, Prohibition Stadium, Exorcism Stadium, Excrement Stadium, you name it.
The mistake by the lake.
Terrible ballpark, made worse by the fact that they didn't serve beer. You see, the conservative government in Ontario at the time, led by Bill Davis, was very conservative. Defenders of modesty. What if we let them drink in public? They'll get drunk like those Americans on 10-cent beer nights. This is what we had to go through.
Wow.
Baseball fans and hockey fans.
And wasn't Labatt's an owner?
Yes. Think about it. Okay, when this team started, they were the only major league team not to serve beer at the games.
Yeah, like Blue Jays is because of Labatt's Blue, right? That's
yes. And it was Labatt's Blue Jays baseball.
Right.
Everything was Blue Jays. All the advertising. Okay, the major sponsor, Labatt Blue Jays. They didn't serve beer. Now, I'm telling you, when I covered the team, I would go into the locker room after the game to do interviews. All the guys had beers and smokes. Every game. Jim Clancy, Tommy Underwood, all these guys all drank beer after the game supplied by Labatt's. They couldn't wait to get into the locker room after the game. The fans, dry as a bone. So for 5.5 years, no beer. Now, when I had a talk show on at that time, 1981, 82, 83, I railed against the government every chance I got. And every fan that called into the show, I said, come on, let's do something about this. We want beer. And the chants were loud for many years. Right. Hot summer day, no beer. And one day I managed to get Bill Davis, who actually listened to the show. He was a fan, the conservative leader for many years. I think at the time he had been there for like a decade as the premier.
First premier I remember in my life is Bill Davis.
He might have been there. Yeah, he was there for everything. The Spadina Expressway, just tons of stuff. And he was a baseball fan, kind of, right? And I had him on and I said, how can you not allow us adults, 18 plus, responsible people, why not allow us to go to the games and have the beer? And he went through this whole thing like that. I said to you, you have to allow it. You have to. He said, well, what if the fans are unruly? And what if I said, then fine, then turn off the taps. But at least give the fans an opportunity to show that they're responsible enough to go to a baseball game and have a couple of beers. And he was like, well, a couple of, and anyway, it ended up being that in July of 1982, a few months after I, had him on, and I guess the discussions went, at a higher level than that, they changed the law and allowed beer sales at Exhibition Stadium. However, you were only allowed to buy 2 at a time. They were 12-ounce beers at $1.75 a piece, and you could only buy them at the concession stands. Right?
Right.
They weren't hot dogs, hamburger, not beer. You couldn't sell beer in the stands. Now in Montreal, man, for years, beer. You could grab as many Laurentides or whatever as you wanted from the concessionaires.
They always had more fun in Montreal.
Down the aisles.
Yeah, for sure.
But not in Toronto. And what happened was the government said, Davis said, that this pilot project of allowing beer to be sold would be closed at the end of there is going to take place for the rest of the 82 season and all of 1983. And if at the end of the 1983 season, the government wasn't satisfied that the fans were being responsible, they'd rescind it. Can you imagine? So it was like, okay, you can drink beer, but we're watching you. You better behave like adults, or we're going to turn off the taps.
That's wild. I think youngsters listening would be surprised at just how, what do you call it, Toronto the Good, like all the no shopping on Sundays and all the different like whatever those are called, the modesty laws. What's the name for these? Anyways, There's a term I'm missing. Yeah.
Blue laws.
Yeah, right. Like it would be shocking to hear like how, because you mentioned Montreal and everybody, that's why Montreal was the place to go to have fun. Like Toronto was a stiff, Protestant.
Now, I don't know this for a fact, Mike, because at the time I was a professional broadcaster,
right,
and couldn't indulge in certain things, illegal things.
Okay.
But there was a lot of weed smoking going on at Exhibition Stadium in those days, especially because you couldn't drink beer. And they're always checking for containers, you can't sneak that wineskin in so easily, right?
Sure.
Although in those days they were kind of lax. Okay, like we'll look the other way maybe. But, there's lots of pot smoking going on, man, because like, hey, we're at the ball game. It's summer. We're sitting. We got our feet up. It's a nice languid pace. It's baseball. It's wonderful.
Well, Hebsy, my first sports memory, if you will, is that walking to Maple Leaf Gardens, I guess on Carlton there or whatever, and the thick smell of weed in the air, like that smell of,
ooh, that smell.
Yeah, that's right.
Can't you smell that smell
of Mary Jane wafting in the air? And I said, okay, it's time for puck drop soon. So.
Right.
And I still associate the smell. By
5.5 years though, Mike.
Yeah.
No beer.
So good on you, Hebsy, for making that happen. It was bound to happen eventually. But we
did a promotion one time called Toronto's Best Sports Fans. I think I mentioned this to you. We sold tickets at whatever the face value was. We got all of section 28, which was down the left field line at Exhibition Stadium, and we got pennants printed up and caps and whatever. And we went out and I'm telling you, we were chanting, we want beer, we want beer, and. We had a really good following. The radio listeners were great and passionate baseball fans, Blue Jay fans. And a lot of them were learning the sport of baseball too. I happen to grow up loving it. So from an early age, I really, enjoyed the game and watched as much as I could and went on road trips and that. But a lot of people who just, knew baseball but didn't know some of the nuances or the history of the game or whatever. And I remember when I had the show, people would call up with questions, and there were no stupid questions about baseball because they were learning.
Right.
Mark, if the runner crosses the plate before the third out is made on a grounder, does that run count?
Right. That kind of stuff.
No, it doesn't. Mark, can you explain the infield fly rule?
Right.
That type of a thing.
And
Mark, can a designated hitter take a position on the field? Well, no, the pitcher would have. So all these things.
You came through it naturally, of course, because I remember the story of your parents' honeymoon, right? They went to like 3 major league ballparks or something.
They went to Ebbets Field to see the Brooklyn Dodgers, the Polo Grounds to see the New York Giants, and Yankee Stadium to see the Yanks play.
Amazing. That's amazing.
On their honeymoon. Is that wild? And my mom used to play third base for the Montrose Mice at the Trinity Bellwoods League. Every street that bordered on the north end of Trinity Bellwoods Park had its own baseball team. So my mom lived on Montrose Avenue. She played for the Montrose Mice. Wow. The Crawford Crayfish were 1 block over. The Beatrice Beetles were a couple more blocks over. The Grace Street, I don't know what their name was, had a team.
Yeah.
My mom played third base.
Amazing.
The hot corner.
Amazing.
So we got baseball.
A league of their
baseball in my
own.
blood.
I love it.
Okay, Mike and fans, thanks. Thanks for being a part of this. Much appreciated. Hope you enjoyed it. That's it for episode 227 of Hebsy on Sports. And Toronto Mike, once again, thank you for your excellent production and inspiration. And Mike's podcast is a beauty, a must listen. He always has great guests. I've got some catching up to do. Got to listen to that. The rest of the Mike Wilder episode, Carol Pope episode. So go to torontomike.com and check out his excellent
and
podcast.
we kick out the baseball jams yesterday. So any fans of baseball jams got to check out the Pandemic Friday we recorded last night.
There you are. Yet another on my list of my to-do list. Of
your hit list.
And for me, check out my YouTube page, Live from Toronto, if you haven't already. And please tell your friends about this podcast. Subscribe, like, share, all that stuff. I'm getting some wonderful responses from the listeners. So if you have any comments or suggestions, pass them along. And that's it. Thanks for allowing us into your headspace. Back with another episode next week. Until then, so long for now. This podcast has been produced by TMDS and accelerated by Roam Phone. Roam Phone brings you the most reliable virtual phone service to run your business and protect your home number from unwanted calls. Visit roamphone.ca to get started.